On the edge of a small village, surrounded by endless green fields and whispering forests, there lived a boy named Arjun. He was no stranger to hardship. His family was poor, surviving day by day with whatever little they could earn from farming a tiny piece of land. Arjun's hands were rough from work, his feet cracked from walking barefoot, and his dreams often had to be set aside to meet the reality of life. Yet, despite the struggles, there was something remarkable about him, his heart. He was known in the village as a boy who never turned away from someone in need, no matter how little he had to give. One summer afternoon, as the golden sun burned hot above the fields, Arjun decided to walk towards the forest to collect firewood for his mother. The path he took was quiet, with only the rustle of leaves and the call of birds echoing in the distance. But then he heard something that made him stop in his tracks, a faint cry, trembling and desperate. At first, he thought his ears were playing tricks on him, but the cry came again, sharper this time, filled with fear. His heart pounded as he dropped his bundle of wood and ran towards the sound. What he saw made his blood run cold. A young girl, dressed in clothes far too fine for a village path, was sinking into a patch of quicksand. Her hands flailed wildly, her eyes wide with terror, every movement pulling her deeper into the earth. Arjun had heard stories of the deadly ground, how it swallowed people whole if they panicked. Without wasting a second, he sprinted forward. "Don't move," he shouted, his voice steady, though fear coiled in his chest. "Stay still, or it will pull you faster." The girl froze, tears streaming down her face. Arjun grabbed a long branch from the ground, laying flat on his stomach, stretching it out towards her. "Hold this. Don't let go," he urged. Trembling, she reached out, her fingers barely brushing the branch. With one final desperate stretch, she caught it. Arjun dug his heels into the soil, pulling with every ounce of strength his thin frame carried. The quicksand resisted, tugging at her like an invisible beast. Sweat drenched his face, muscles burning, but he refused to let go. Finally, with a cry of effort, he yanked her free, and the two of them collapsed onto the grass, gasping for air. For a long moment, neither spoke. The girl's breaths were shallow, her face pale as though she had stared death itself in the eyes. Arjun turned to her, concern replacing his exhaustion. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. She shook her head, still unable to form words. Slowly, she sat up, brushing mud from her clothes. Her dress, once spotless, was ruined, her shoes caked with filth. But her eyes, dark, deep, and trembling, locked onto Arjun's. Gratitude shone through them, mixed with something else, something she kept hidden. "Thank you," she whispered at last. Arjun smiled faintly. Anyone would have done the same. But the truth was, not everyone would have. And she knew it. The girl's name was Anaya, though she didn't say it. Nor did she reveal who she truly was, the only daughter of one of the richest billionaires in the country. She had come to the village secretly, tired of her life surrounded by glass walls, bodyguards, and endless rules. For once, she had wanted freedom, to breathe without eyes following her. But in her curiosity, she had wandered too far, into danger she never imagined. As they walked back towards the village path, Arjun noticed her silence. He tried to lighten the mood, talking about the forest, about how dangerous quicksand was if one didn't know where to step. She listened quietly, watching him, her heart heavy with the secret she carried. She longed to tell him the truth, but fear stopped her. What if he treated her differently? What if his kindness was replaced by greed, as so many people's kindness toward her father had been? For the first time in her life, someone had helped her without knowing who she was, and that made her feel safe. Over the next few days, Anaya kept returning to the village, always in simple clothes, always with a story ready for why she was there. Arjun showed her the fields, the river, the little school where children sat under a tree learning from an old chalkboard. She laughed at his jokes, listened to his dreams, and shared pieces of her own heart carefully, without exposing too much. But it wasn't all simple. Arjun's life was filled with challenges. His father was ill, their crops were failing, and debt collectors often came knocking at their door. Anaya watched silently as he bore all of it with quiet strength, never complaining, always putting his family first. Something stirred inside her, a deep respect, a longing to help, but she couldn't reveal her true self yet. One evening, as the orange sun dipped low, painting the sky in fire, Arjun sat by the river, staring at the water. Anaya sat beside him, her eyes soft with worry. "You dream big, don't you?" she asked. Arjun chuckled, though his eyes betrayed a sadness. "Dreams are all I have. I want to study, to become someone who can change this village, maybe build a school, a hospital. But, dreams are expensive, and I can barely afford tomorrow's meal." Anaya's throat tightened. In that moment, she realized the privilege she had taken for granted. She had all the wealth in the world, yet here was a boy with nothing, whose heart still carried dreams bigger than the sky. Days turned into weeks. Their bond grew stronger, though unspoken. But the world doesn't keep secrets forever. One afternoon, a convoy of luxury cars rolled into the village. Men in black suits stepped out, searching frantically. And then, Anaya's father appeared, her secret shattered in an instant. The villagers gathered, staring in awe as they realized who she truly was. Arjun stood frozen, confusion in his eyes. He looked at her, silently asking the question she had feared all along, "Why didn't you tell me?" Tears welled up in Anaya's eyes as she whispered, "Because I wanted someone to see me, not my father's wealth." Her father embraced her, his relief turning into stern words. But when Anaya spoke of how Arjun had saved her life, how he had shown her a world of honesty, kindness, and courage, her father's gaze softened. He turned to Arjun, a boy with nothing but dignity in his eyes, and saw what his daughter had seen all along. In the weeks that followed, life changed. Arjun was offered a scholarship to study, supported by Anaya's father, who had been moved by his determination. The small village began to see hope, new resources, new opportunities. And though Anaya returned to her city life, she often came back, no longer hiding, but as herself. Arjun never sought wealth, but in giving his heart without expecting anything in return, he had gained something greater: respect, purpose, and a bond that time could never erase. The story of the village boy and the billionaire's daughter spread far and wide, but at its core was a simple truth: sometimes the greatest treasures lie not in gold or riches, but in the strength of the human spirit, the courage to help another, and the love that grows from sincerity. And so, under the same sky that had once watched him pull her from the quicksand, their paths remained forever intertwined, a reminder that no matter where you come from, the purity of your heart is what defines your true worth.